everyone, welcome. My name is Emily. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the idea of perspective from an art standpoint and a life standpoint, how we want to address perspective with our posters. I'm also going to talk to you guys about color theory, how to efficiently use color throughout your poster, whether it's font or just shapes and the poster background itself. I'm going to give a brief Canva 101 and some tips and tricks to help you as you go through this creative journey. So, jumping into perspective, we're going to begin with the fundamentals. We're going to talk about atmospheric perspective and linear perspective. Atmospheric perspective is simply just the layers that build up a landscape or a drawing that needs a lot of dimension and depth. So you have the foreground, you have the middle ground, and you have the background. The foreground is where you're going to see a lot of your detail. In this picture, you see the detail of the shoes, you can see all the little ridges, you can see all the seams, and you have an important detail in the middle or background, but it's blurry. It's not the focal point. Same with right here in this picture. Obviously, the tree is very important. It has more detail than the building in the background. So, the idea of perspective that most of you are probably more familiar with, if you are at all, is the idea of linear perspective. That's something most of us learned in middle school or high school, and it's when you draw a line in the center of the paper and you put a vanishing point in the center of the paper, and you draw everything getting smaller as it goes towards that vanishing point. This also creates depth. It doesn't have as many layers, obviously, as atmospheric perspective, but it has a lot of cool viewpoints. So moving on from the art side of perspective, I want to talk about perspective and perception in life and how they are intertwined, and how that's what we really want you to include in your poster is how do you keep things in perspective as you go through challenges or as you just go through your daily life, whatever obstacles you face, and how are you resilient against those? It can be something really simple, from homework to something really big as like addiction in yourself, you're dealing with that, or somebody you love is. How do you flip that situation and just know that it's going to be okay eventually? Or how do you keep things in perspective? How do you turn that situation and look at it from a different angle? So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind. It's about how do you make sure you continue to make good decisions for yourself, even if something might not be entirely ideal for you. I think that's kind of what CEAS is about. It's about encouraging young people to make good decisions, or just people in general, not necessarily young people. I mean, at the root, their mission is to prevent addiction and alcohol abuse and celebrate recovery, but it's just about bettering yourself and making good decisions for yourself. So how are you doing that? How are you looking at an object and saying, it's this, but it's also that? Or how are you looking at things differently to improve yourself and to make your life better? So I think color theory is a really basic concept that plays a huge role in art. So the basic idea for the color wheel is to show the primary colors, the secondary colors, and so on and so forth. It's also to show the complementary colors, and that's really what we're going to discuss today for our purposes with this project. So your complementary colors are the colors that are across from each other. So orange is a complementary color to dark blue, or any blue really, but specifically dark blue. Same with this fuchsia pink is complementary to this green. Those are just the colors that are going to catch people's eyes, and they're going to be the most obviously complementary, the best combination possible in terms of how well they go together. Now, another thing to keep in mind with color theory is color and emotion. So each color kind of represents its own emotion, and when you mix them all together, you can kind of manipulate those ideas. But I would reference this chart a little bit when you're going back to use certain colors. The last thing I would talk about is your font choice in color. I would avoid using a bunch of font that's really colorful, and I wouldn't put red font on a black background. It's really hard to read. I wouldn't put a yellow font on a white background. Like I said, I would probably just keep it simple, white and black writing. Sometimes you could accent a couple words with some color if you'd like to. Just make sure it's easy to read. First things first, we're going to go to canva.com. I already have an account, so all I have to do is log in. So we're going to create our own poster and change the units to inches, and then it's going to be a 21 by 28 poster. We're just going to hit create. Now, as soon as everything loads up, we're going to explore the templates page. Now, this is just a really good resource to look at how some of the fonts are laid out. If you want to use a template, that's okay. I would definitely put my own spin on it because we don't want anything generic. We want your artwork. So I would just look at this for some inspiration. There's a lot of good templates that use like atmospheric perspective and linear perspective. So just kind of look at these and get a good idea of what you might want to use. So the next tab we're going to explore is the Photos tab. And Canva is really awesome because they provide their users with a bunch of free images, but they also mix in some images that aren't free, and there's a little crown in the bottom right hand corner, and that just means you have to pay a royalty to use them. If you type in the word free, you don't just find all free images. I was kind of hoping that might be the case. It'd make it a lot easier on you guys, but that doesn't really matter. If you I would just scroll through the images, get some inspiration, some ideas of some things you might want, and then I'd go to Google and type in whatever it is you're looking for plus free, and you can find some free images that you don't have to pay royalties for to use. So moving on to the next tab, it is the Elements tab, and this is just a big stickers tab, and it has all kinds of stuff like shapes. I'm going to show you how to change your shapes, the color and everything. So if you go to the top left hand corner, you can select a color. That rainbow color above, you can use that to mix your own colors. There's also the option that we are currently using to change the transparency. You can drag that line to make it lighter or darker. There's also the option to type in whatever percentage of darkness you want. So that's really helpful. We also have this tool that aligns your shapes and your stickers all over the page. So if you want it dead center, you don't have to fuss with dragging it with the mouse. It just works, and it's really efficient. The Elements tab also includes all these different stickers and images, so you can create your own settings, or scenery I should say, and really add character to your poster. It's personalized by you, so that's awesome. So another really cool feature Canva has is they have all these template text, and you can select one and you can use the font that is within that template and just put your own words into it. That's really useful because a lot of the cool fonts that Canva has, you have to pay a royalty to use. I went ahead and just selected added a heading, and I typed in Canva 101, and I'm going to explore some of the fonts they have and see if I like any of them, because I want a very business kind of look, and I just thought I could make it myself. But I would absolutely use some of these template fonts that they have, or at least look at them, because they give a lot of good ideas, and I think that's one really cool thing about Canva. Now, the last tab we're going to use for our purposes when making our posters is the Background tab. Now, Canva has a lot of really great options if you don't want to have to make things completely from scratch, or you need to just have a good base to make something or get some ideas. There's a lot of good tools to create a really cool product. So just scroll through here, find one of the free backgrounds that you like, and use it. So for the final step, we are going to export as a PNG. You just go up to the top right hand corner and hit download, and it'll load, and then it'll pop. You'll go to the bottom left hand corner, click it, and it'll pop up. So I know all too well how hard it is to brainstorm ideas sometimes whenever you're faced with a project like this. So what I usually do in this situation, I learned this from my art teacher, is I will sit down with a stack of paper and I will write down anything that comes to my mind as I'm thinking about this project or the prompt. And then I'll pick out a few good ideas that I've come up with from that process, and I'll give each word or idea its own piece of paper or list. And then I'll list a few words that remind me of that idea and see which idea works the best for me for that specific project, and then I'll go from there. And as I start planning, I'll start planning my color scheme. And I think it's important that we talk about this now because I don't think I covered it as well when we talked about color, but it's important to keep your color scheme as minimal as possible. With that being said, I don't mean that you should only have 2 colors, but I mean don't have a lot of things that are going to be distracting in the background of your art. You want your focal point to be your focal point. You want your purpose in the poster, your main idea to be very evident. So keep it simple, keep it minimal. Some of the best posters are the most minimalistic ones because they're straight to the point and you can see clearly what they mean. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to email me. I love hearing from you guys. And don't stress. It's no big deal. And remember, you do not have to include the perspective with art ideas. Those are just tools for you all. So if you need anything, email me. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.